My name is Alexandra Blom. I am the Executive Director of the Chicago Printers Guild. The CPG is a small arts organization that brings together printers and printmakers to network, information share, and promote print culture in the Chicago area and beyond. We do this through workshops, studio visits, exhibitions, artist talks, and these are all open to the public. Currently, and the reason we're here today, is because we are rallying our members to support Black artists and doing this by fundraising for an organization that has been doing this for 80 years and counting, the Southside Community Art Center, or SSCAC, which is located in the Bronzeville neighborhood of Chicago. The funds from this fundraiser will go towards the Dr. Margaret Burroughs Gallery, which is the main gallery at SSCAC. And we'll get into more of that a little bit later, but just to quickly talk about the fundraiser, in addition to collecting cash donations, the CPG has awarded funding for 3 publishing projects that bring together CPG members and artists outside of the Guild to create work, which we will be selling on the CPG online shop to go toward this fundraising efforts. In addition to that, our own members will be individually fundraising on their own platforms, selling work and other goods, which will also go towards this fundraiser. You can find all of this information at the Chicago Printers Guild website by clicking on Raise It Up. And we'll also include this link along with this discussion. So as I said, we are kicking off this fundraiser today, with the Executive Director of the Southside Community Art Center, Monique Brinkman-Hill, and photographer Stephanie Graham, who is one of the recipients of our Publishing Project Awards. Yay. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I wanted to start just by letting each of you talk a little bit more about your background and who you are. And so if you want to start, Monique, I'd love to hear more about you.
So first of all, let me just say thank you so much to the Chicago Printers Guild for this wonderful fundraising opportunity. When we first started and you started talking about, you'd like to do something to partner with us, I was thrilled beyond measure because I just think that it's an opportunity for us to really, one, collaborate with an organization that has had many members throughout the years. In fact, our Dr. Margaret Burroughs was a printer. We have Barbara Jones Hugo, a printer. We're looking at so many that we've been featuring this last couple of months. So we know that the Chicago Printers Guild and the Southside Community Arts Center have long had a collaboration in terms of membership, but it's really important, and it couldn't have come at a better time for the Southside Community Arts Center for us to have this partnership and this opportunity to receive additional funding support at a time when the organization really does need this. So I, as you mentioned, am the executive director. I joined as the executive director in December of 2019. I like to say I came on from the board of the Southside Community Arts Center from 2018. I did a brief stint as the interim, and then I was selected for the executive director position December 2019. So we had December 2019, as I call it, January, February, then COVID. So it has been a unique year, to say the least. It has been the most tremendous opportunity to learn about an organization, to learn about yourself, because we are all under this new guide of the pandemic. And so all bets are off. We're all learning, we're all growing. And when you came to visit and you saw the Dr. Margaret Burroughs Gallery, there is a huge opportunity in that gallery for us to maintain the historic nature of the gallery with the wonderful wood panels that have the holes in them that other important and artists across the decades have held and hosted art exhibits there. And for us to be able to improve that gallery, there's some, we're in a building that's over 100 years old. It's 80 years as a center. And so naturally there needs to be a little love given to the building, and there's no shortage of opportunities for us to improve the building. Certainly at this point in time, we've recently had the windows restored, which was part of a big project that we were working on with the National Trust. And I think right now, to work on building this historic building back up to its glory and beyond is critically important for us. And so again, I thank you to all of the members who are looking to participate, to donate. We greatly appreciate you. And I look forward to a time when we can all gather back in that Dr. Margaret Burroughs Gallery together. And by the time that happens, we know that we will see some improvements based on some of the funding and contributions that we're making today. So thank you.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure, really. How did you get connected in the first place to SSCAC to join the board?
So I grew up loving art. Well, let me say this. As a kid, my mother dragged me to many art shows. And I won't say as a kid that was a love. I would just say that you start learning and growing, and exposure is everything. I've got two adult sons myself, but teaching them and reaching them, and that's what my mom did for me, is that she exposed me to art. And before I knew it, I had this great appreciation for art. And I've been a collector for a number of years. I know the history of the Southside Community Arts Center. I know the importance of having a Bronzeville located art center that has been focused on the African American artists for 80 years. This year is our 80th anniversary. Was so important. So it wasn't that hard when one of the board members, a couple of board members approached me about joining the board. And so it was my honor to come on board. And certainly I have learned, I thought I knew, but the more I read our archives, the more I learn. It's just, the history here is just incredible. Where else in the city of Chicago will you find artists the likes of a Dr. Margaret Burroughs, a Fahim Majid, Elza Couture? You think about a Barbara Jones Hugo. Of course, you had Gordon Parks having the darkroom in the basement. You have all of these, Kerry James Marshall. I found he had his wedding there at the center. I mean, so there's just so much history. And seems like every time I turn back a page, I'm learning something new. It's just incredible. And so I look at it at this point as my honor.
I share the same excitement you do. Each time we as the Guild doing this are discovering more and more about SSCAC. So it's been, I think, even more amazing of an experience for us to be doing this with you than we even anticipated. So now, Stephanie, I know you came to SSCAC earlier in your life and had sort of, I think, a self-described coming of age there. Can you talk a little bit about how you were introduced to SSCAC and how it impacted you as not only an artist, but a human?
Yeah, sure. So I was introduced to the Southside Community Arts, and I get scared to like butcher the acronym.
It's a little.
I know, right? Through the Chicago Alliance of African American Photographers, which is a photo group of Black photographers. And at the time, it was a bunch of photojournalists at the time. And I was in college studying photography, and a friend of mine, I think she was a member. And so she told me about it, and she's like, I can bring you to a meeting, but you have to present yourself for like them to accept you. Because at the time, it was like Robert Sengstack, who was a part of the Defender, who owned the Defender, Bob Black, John White, like all these like supreme photojournalists. And I was just like, doing portraits. And I'm like, okay, but I really wanted to be a part of a community. And so I went to a meeting, and the first meeting was at the Beverly Arts Center because they were just finishing a show that they had there. And so I went to that meeting, showed my work, and everybody was so nice and super gracious. And so I went again to the next meeting, which is at the Southside Community Arts Center. I was attending Columbia College at the time, but I lived in the Northwest suburbs. So I had never heard of the Southside Community Arts Center until I went there for that meeting. And when I went, it was just like this neighborly feel, like everybody met in the main gallery and the Burroughs Gallery. And yeah, we just had our meeting there every single month. And so every time you would come in there, there would always be a new exhibition up. Artists just walked in and out of there, and you didn't know it, and it really didn't matter if it was a big deal artist, a big deal artist, or if it was just someone taking a class. Like, you just know that everybody was there, was into art, was into creativity. And yeah, that's how I got into it there.
And what brought you to photojournalism or photography? And what is a little bit background on yourself? I know you said you were in the Northwest suburbs. Yeah. How did you get here?
I always represent Schaumburg, where I'm from. And, I studied art because I remember a girl like in church, she was studying, you needed an art class, and I was not good at art. I couldn't really draw that well. Maybe I could do okay with like the painting assignments in grade school, but in high school they had photography, and I'm like, okay, well, how, that seems like something I can do because it is not drawing, So I took the photography class and really got into it, really got excited about it, really enjoyed printing my own work. And I wanted to study, I went to Columbia to study film, and then I minored in photography. Just because I really enjoyed learning photography, but I knew that I wanted to be in the film industry. My father's a huge film buff, and I just got into films that way. And so I know I wanted to study film. And so because I wasn't in that many classes, and I was interested in, like photographing Chicago, listening to people's stories and finding out more about them and photographing them, I just wanted more access to that in like instruction of how to do that. And so I just really believe in community, like finding community. So when my friend told me about CAP, that's Chicago Alliance African American Photographers acronym, I was just like, yeah, let me go and be a part of this. So I feel like photojournalism, even though I don't really do that type of work now, I do mostly like portraits and recreate environments. I felt that the training from those photographers there was really good because it just helped you to think quickly and to always keep your camera on you and like to just always make stories up like on the fly. So I felt like that training was really good. And then of course, just being around, photographers who have been doing this way longer than I have, and being able to talk to them, like, them just coming with me, they would come to some of my art shows, or if you had questions on assignments, they would be there. So I love that. And then, each month just meeting at the Southside Community Arts Center, it just made it even more special because you're sitting in these meetings and you're talking about photography, you're seeing photography all while maybe there's like a painting show up, and then you get to see all these different artists coming in and talking about their art. So it just made it awesome because you didn't have access to that. And of course, like they were all, these amazing Black artists, which at my school, that was not the case necessarily. So, you got to see like Black artists talking about their art as well, which is very important. And I didn't have access to that at all, really. So,
Can I just weigh in and say, Stephanie, you just warmed my heart. That was oh man, that is what the center has been about for 8 decades. Just what you said, people coming, in fact, from the 40s, people coming to find a place and a space that they could call home around other artists, like-minded individuals to learn from. Not everybody had a chance to go to, the Art Institute or Columbia or somewhere else, but they would go there, they'd come back, they teach. They reach the other artists. The community that I'm very familiar with, the photography caps organization, and they have actually, photographed most of the exhibitions and events at the Southside Community Arts Center through the years. But just the fact that you felt at home, you felt comfortable, it gave you a place and a space and a group of people. That's been what the center has been about. So literally, I'm sitting here smiling because it's like, yes, this is exactly what captures people. It pains me that right now that we can't be in there the way that we've been in there, but we will again. But what you just described is 80 years,
yes,
8 decades of that phenomenal experience for different people. So,
yeah, what a testament that it rings so true for you in that way, Stephanie, when I believe, if I understand correctly, that was the real, that was the galvanizing energy behind starting the center in the first place, was to create for people what you say you found there. So yeah, to have it 80 years later doing that same thing is, it's really incredible. There's few organizations, I think, that really can speak to that being quite, where they're still at.
Yeah, and also I think Barbara Hogu, is that
Jones? Yes.
Yeah, Jones. I think she was at some of the CAP meetings.
I would believe so.
Yeah, and what I think is sort of cool is if you think back, because you guys had recently just posted a picture of her.
I did.
On Instagram, and I'm like, she was at the meetings. I remember seeing her face, but it's you might just say oh, hey, Barbara. And because we're talking about maybe critiquing someone else's work, or they're showing pictures from their granddaughters, whatever, she's just back and you're oh, hey. But then if you think back, you're oh my God, she was really just in there chilling, and critiquing the photos or talking just about, just being in there casually. And then you're thinking back, you're oh,
it's Barbara Jones
Jackson being in the room with you.
Well,
what do you think? Can either of you? What do you think it is that creates that SSCAC does so well to do that? What can we learn in general in terms of building community and creating a space that feels like that? What do you think some of those key elements are? I really am connecting to what you're saying about there's a sense of everyone there is equals. It doesn't matter if you're famous so-and-so, everyone is there to support each other. But is that just, an energy that was set from the start and therefore it's carried through? Or is there something unique happening beyond that you can put into words?
So I'm going to let Stephanie go first and then I'll follow up.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I was just thinking is there's just a humility there that, show off for what, you don't have to, everybody's just there to create and share and have a good time, no one's there putting on airs or trying to puff up their chest. There's nothing really at stake outside of just, sharing your talent and, teaching your talent. So that's probably what I think it is, and just everybody's just cool and laid back. But it just seems there's no reason to be mean or arrogant or, or create division. It's everybody's there to share their knowledge and absorb each other's knowledge. And I think too, people are there to learn and mix and mingle, it's just, I don't know, it's default community or whatever. You're just there to hang out. When you go in there, you're there to either learn or hang out.
And you pass through that main entrance, those doors, and you're entering that kind of space, and everyone knows that, and everyone's sort of on the same page about that.
Yeah. It's weird what it's about.
It's an unusual experience, but I kind of, when I was listening to you talk and I was thinking through it, I was thinking about, it's like being with your family.
Yeah.
It is the sense of, you know how you were saying, Stephanie, that if no one, you know, puts on airs, and I'm thinking when you know how you go home for Thanksgiving, no matter what you've done, no matter where you are, and your family's like, yeah, your mom is like, go get the dishes, or, you know, go take out the garbage, just like, cause you're home. Yeah. And it's like, there certainly have been artists who have been, without question, some of the masters of the African-American art experience throughout these 8 decades. But part of it has been, as you call it, rightfully so, the humility and the responsibility of community and sharing. I was listening to a story Fahim was telling when he was talking about first coming to Chicago, and how someone told him, you need to be at the Southside Community Arts Center. And he went there, and he said, I'm working up on, you know, he said, Dr. Margaret Burroughs became like his mentor. You know, he was going everywhere with her. And then all of the other people who, you know, he described who were names, you know, in textbooks, they were names that most people would aspire to want to meet. He's like, they were all there, yeah. You know, and there's also a sense of passing the torch and wanting to share. And, you know, I'm not going to paint a magical picture, because it's, in reality, we're dealing with people, and we're dealing with, you know, 8 decades of, you know, hundreds and thousands of people coming through the doors. But I will say that there is a sense of community there. There is, you know, we call it woo-woo. It's like a sense of the ancestors being there, protecting, watching over, guiding. I had a group of, before we closed, we had a group of young students come through the doors, and they were with an organization, and I know I'm going to do the name no justice, so I'm not going to share the name. But they came in, the point was they came in, and after their tour, one of the employees at the time took them on a tour and talked to them and everything. And then they did this circle where they talked about what they were grateful for at the end of it. It was, I think, maybe 15, 16 students. And multiple students said, I'm grateful for this experience and this piece. And a couple of the students said, they were like high school students. And, you know, when you think about a high school student, you know, 15, 16, 17, and they felt as though they hadn't been in any place in a while that felt that peaceful to them. And I thought, wow, that there is an energy, and, you know, about the place, the history, the legacy, the responsibility of passing and paying it forward. And so I don't know what the magic is, but I would say that it is our goal and our mission to continue that. It's a
grounding space.
Maybe
there's a grounding space in the history of the actual building itself, that physical space. I know that SSCAC could thrive in another space, but there is something that really does set that, just respect and wisdom of the building itself. And as you say, all the people that have passed through it, you feel that. Absolutely.
You think it has something to do with it being a house?
It's possible. Yeah. You know, it is possible that, you know, it was built in, the building is 100 years old. I think it's 100 and, I don't know, 3. I may get the actual number wrong. We've had it for 80 years as part of the Southside Community Arts Center. And it was a wealthy merchant owned the building. And when the opportunity came for through the WPA, for the group of artists, with Dr. Margaret Burroughs being one of the youngest in that group, to purchase the building, I'd like to say that, you know, grace, blessings, spirit, faith, everything that bought it to made it possible. That, I mean, you know, there have been lean years throughout these 80 years. There have been years where, you know, it was the love of an individual or a group of individuals that held it together, that maintained, you know, the center. there were, you know, executive directors that came and built, you know, it's kind of almost like a relay race that built on and, you know, passed the baton to the next person. And so I followed Maseko Myers, who was a phenomenal executive director, and I felt as though she was passing the torch. It's like, you know, my goal is, you know, to build on all of the great things that she did during her 5 years of being there. And so it's just a wonderful space. And again, there's so many people, and this is the part that you know, that we're really working on now. So many people that I know in Chicago that will say, I passed that building at 3831 South Michigan all the time, and I never knew what that was. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow.
And just to go back to Fahim Majid, he was an executive director, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he was.
Yeah, and he's currently, I believe, I think it's coming to, I'm not sure if the schedule is still the same with the uptick, but I believe that he has his at Hyde Park Art Center now, but coming in January, is it he took some rubbings of the building itself?
So absolutely. So right now we have an exhibit with Jesse Howard, who is an incredible artist in and of his own. He has these really incredibly drawn with charcoal on paper portraits that he does, and he often uses individuals who are unseen. They are people that society will often not pay attention to, some of the homeless and individuals doing their everyday life. And he's been, the exhibit, actually, we have a show coming up, Eventbrite show, December 5th and December 19th, I forget it right. And you can click on. And then in January, Fahim is coming. The big show is going to be at the Hyde Park Art Center in April. And in January, February, and March, he's going to bring another version of the show, because the Hyde Park Art Center has a broader space for some of the bigger pieces that he has. So he has, as the ED, has such a great passion for the Southside Community Arts Center. And this exhibit that he's doing from January through April, May, I think it's June, is built on the Southside Community Arts Center. And so, you know, it's something about it. It gets in your, I don't know, you know, it's kind of, I don't know if it's in the water, or, you know, it's in the walls. I don't know what oozes out. I promise you we don't spray anything on anybody, but it's something happens. But yeah, that we now own the complete lot to the north of us. And so we are hoping that in the, you know, foreseeable future, that we will be able to develop that lot to have an outdoor space that will allow for even broader community engagement and activity and so forth. Like back in college days when they'd say on the yard, or, you know, that maybe we'd have something, the Southside Community Arts Center would have something like that. So super exciting things to come. I've already had some estimates done for some things that we were talking about improving that gallery. So, because I was too excited to, wait.
Don't wait.
So I'm excited that to see where we end up with the fundraiser. But
we're going to blow it out of the water, I think.
I think so.
I believe that too.
And that will be in no small part to something I'm really excited about. I had the ability or the opportunity to take a sneak peek at Stephanie's work with Victoria, Marie Barkwin and Halftone Projects, and I will be owning one. So yeah.
Okay, well, I want a sneak peek.
Oh no. Maybe when no one else is looking.
Okay, nobody else is looking. Okay, all right.
Yeah. But so yeah, it's exciting because we will be releasing images of that work this weekend, and everyone, including collector Monique Brinkman-Hill, will be able to collect some of this work.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it. My husband was not someone who was big into art when we first met, and he said, "Well, how much art are you how many pieces do you think you're going to buy?" And it's like,
don't ask me that. Who knows?
I said, "Well, I probably, just so you know, will probably be buying art until I can't anymore." Yeah. And so part of it for me is celebrating the artists and their talent. Stephanie, to your point, I was never good at art in terms of drawing or painting or any of those things, but I have a great eye and an even greater appreciation.
Yeah.
And so, in a little known secret, I actually took color photography and black and white photography in both high school and college. And I am the self-professed girlfriend photographer for the group.
I love it. That's amazing. That's awesome.
Well, and my friends will go, "Well, she's got a good camera or whatever." And I said, no, it's talent. It's talent. No.
It's both. I'm sure Stephanie can attest to.
It is both. And
Stephanie, you were saying that you've been doing more portrait focused work, and I don't know if you want to talk before we finish up here at all, but talk a little bit about the print you did with Victoria and sort of how that portraiture played into that piece. I thought it was really interesting where that came from, and sort of what you told me about, what really motivated you to participate in this in this project.
Yeah, and I can relate to, I collect work too, and I'm looking at a stack right over there. I've been trying to tell myself to put it up for, that's a whole other thing, right? Like after you buy the work, it's like, then where does it go?
Yep.
And so when you said, you're a collector when you have work you can't hang, because I kept showing a friend, like, should I put this there? Should I put this? She's like, where are you getting all these options? It just becomes...
It becomes a passion.
It really is a passion. Yeah, it's exciting because I look forward to like getting more, like earning more, and you can like get more like payment plans and all that stuff. Like when I found out about payment plan, I was like, what? But I don't know how much can I share about the piece, like how it came up.
Yeah, you're welcome to share anything as long as we don't show an image of it just now.
Oh, okay, great. So, so I met Vic through, we have a mutual friend, Cassie Tompkins, who is a printer as well, I believe.
And a guild member.
But they came to an exhibition I had. Sometimes I'll do some of my work, my practice, even though I do like film and photography based work, my practice is really exposed into like being multidisciplinary, and some of my work is performative. So they came to a performance piece that I had, and that's how I met Vic. And then we just kept in touch, and she was just following my work. And so when she started Halftone Project, she had been doing these really awesome collaborations with different artists, and she would print. And I always was interested in screen printing because it always looks so cool. It's so beautiful. And it's just like layers on layers. And I just, it's just a way to, I can't always frame my mind to think about how people print. Like, I'm sure, Alexandra, you could speak to that. Like, it's just a different way of thought. 'Cause there's all these different colors and half tones and dots and all this stuff. I'm like, wow. So I've always been interested in learning that. But Vic approached me about doing a collaboration. And then when Chicago Printers Guild was teaming up with the Southside Community Arts Center, she was telling me about the Raise It Up campaign. And, as I was telling Alexandra, as an artist, you get asked to do a lot of fundraisers, and as a photographer, where I can relate to printers is I am serious about printing. Like the inks, the paper, I take that extremely serious. And, so I was asked to do a couple of fundraisers, but they just didn't feel right. Like, but as soon as she said this was for Southside Community Arts, and I was like, yes, I am down for that. Absolutely. Because, I have the history, I know. And then, what she was talking about, what all they had wanted to do, I'm like, oh yeah, I am. Sign me up for that, And so I was down for that. But the print, I love chapstick. I love like lip glosses, like keeping your lips moisturized. It's always something to think about, like in this city, right? With all the wind and whatnot. So I'm a big Carmex fan. When, I was younger, my friends, we would always share Carmex with each other and chapstick with each other, lip gloss with each other. And I have been thinking about how I could use Carmex in my practice. And so when Vic came at me with this collaboration, and I was trying to think of an idea, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I could do something around, like lip gloss or, something like that. So that's how the print came about. And then I'm scared to even talk about it anymore because I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, I think that's a great teaser.
Yeah. Because I'm like visualizing, I'm over here going, oh, I can't wait.
But I'm so glad that you had that experience, Stephanie, of like feeling that you were always had an interest in, printmaking and the technique, but maybe just didn't have that, access or just opportunity or just moment where things aligned.
And Vic is like a queen printer. She is so talented. She was telling me, like giving me ideas of how to think about the image that I wanted to make, I was still overwhelmed. But it's so funny because screen printers, that's what you guys do. So you can think about like, oh, I do this, I do that. You can print this. And I'm just like, what? And when I was telling my friend about the screen printing and talking about all the different colors and whatnot, she's like, how many colors are you guys using?
Yeah, Vic got serious and used
one color and that's it. But I was like, it's deep. And
it is deep.
I felt like, I don't even know how I'll be able to screen print on my own after this.
Yeah.
After you work with, masters.
But it's the same feeling that we probably have as a non-photographer where, a friend of mine, he just sees light. Mm-hmm. He knows the way that light is going to react in a photo. The way you talk about a printmaker, oh, your brain just operates that way. Well, like with photography, it took however long of you looking through the lens and looking at light before it becomes almost a second nature. And the printmaking takes work, but it's a second nature that your brain is operating in that way. So that's so what we wanted from these collaborations was that feeling from both people.
And it was cool to actually be able to nerd out with, somebody else about paper.
Yeah.
And because only like when I print my like photo prints, the printer that I'll use sometimes, he'll do that with me, but if I'm trying to talk to like my parents or friends about it, like, okay, I mean, what's the big deal, Like even I was telling Alex, like another fundraiser, like, oh, we'll print it for you. And I'm like, oh no, I don't know what that's going to look like. Absolutely not. Like, okay, if I can come down there and watch it be printed or see what you guys are printing on, there's just so many levels. Like there's no such thing as just hitting print, when it deals with these mediums.
And I think some of that geeking out you're talking about is where maybe like that community connection comes from. At SSCAC, at CPG, because when Monique was talking earlier about, and both of you, about there's no heirs. And, I walked into the CPG, my first meeting as a self-taught printmaker, and I am in, Sonnenzimmer's studio. I mean, they are, well-known printmakers in the area. And I felt so welcomed. I didn't feel exactly what you're talking about with SSCAC. And there maybe is just an element of people who want to geek out on that same thing. So thank you guys so much for speaking with us. The fundraiser kicks off December 5th and 6th. The CPG shop will be open online. You can get Stephanie's work there and the other publishing project members that we've mentioned this evening. And in addition, on that same splash page you will see all of our members that are involved, and you can go to their pages and find out what they are publishing. So it's a good time to buy holiday gifts for yourself or for whoever. Again, you should follow Chicago Printers Guild, click on Raise It Up to get all of this information. and you should follow southsidecommunityartcenter.org. And of course, you should follow Stephanie, all the other great artists that are involved. And we just can't wait to see how this just gets blown out of the water. I just know we're gonna surpass our goal by miles. So, and really looking forward to like continuing the relationship past the fundraiser when we can all be together again.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Thank you again. And Stephanie, it was great meeting you as well. Thank you so much. Alexandra and the Chicago Printers Guild. We are super excited. Now you've got me also personally excited because I'm ready to shop.
That's right.
But what are we saying? Raise it up.
Raise it up.